Hi Stampers, this is Jennifer Timko from Stampin' on the Fly, and I'm here to talk to you about this watercolor flower technique from my card this week at Freshly Made Sketches. I'm using the Garden in Bloom stamp set, which is a watercolor design stamp set that also has line images to match. I'm going to be using just a few of the images, this little flower, some leaves. I'm going to use the spot for the center and then the stem to create this watercolor look that looks like I painted it, but of course the stamp set did all the work. I'm using Ranger watercolor paper. I like this paper because first of all it has texture, two different textures on either side, and I also like that it is actually white, so I can layer it on white if I choose. I'm going to start with the stem, and you can see even in the stamp image it was straight, but I gave it a little bit of a curve, which is easy to do with these photopolymer stamps. And I'm inking this up with my Zig watercolor clean color marker. And the color for this one is the olive green. And I'm just stamping it straight onto the watercolor paper, and then I'm pulling out my Zig water pen. It's the Brush 2.0 water pen. Aqua painters are similar, or you could use a paintbrush. I have it just a little bit damp, and all I'm doing is taking it and then using the ink that was laid down, filling in the image to make it look like I hand painted it on there. I'm going to clean off the stamp and get it all set up to stamp the other stem. I did try both ways. I stamped the flowers first and then added stems, and that was not great. So if you're really artistic and you can do that, awesome for you. For me, I found it was better to go ahead and stamp my stems first and then add the flowers on, and that was a far more successful venture for me. All right, now that I have it all cleaned off, I'm going to the other side so that the stems look a little bit different, inking it back up with the olive marker and then stamping it down. I'm going to go through the same process, and I'm just going to take my water pen and fill in some of those lines a little bit, and it gives it that beautiful watercolor look. It's very loose, and you can make the stems however you want and however long you want, which is kind of nice depending on what kind of bouquet you want to build. I just kept it simple to 2 just because of the sketch this week, and also because I wasn't sure if this was going to work. So I'm pulling out now the Zig marker. It's Peacock Blue, which is a beautiful, beautiful blue. And again, I'm just going direct pen to stamp, and I'm going to stamp it right down. The precision of your inking and how it stamps isn't really that important because of the way this ink moves with the water. You can see that that's not particularly precise, but that's not what you're going for. And once I did, this is just a damp pen off screen. You can see that I keep adding water or cleaning off my brush with a paper towel, and that's what I'm doing right off screen. But this is just a damp brush. There's not even any water in the brush. And I'm just filling out the flower, moving the ink around, and kind of following the lines of the image, expanding it if I need to, and making it look more like I hand painted it, even though I totally do not have the artistic capability of doing that. I'm going to ink it up again, do exactly the same thing. Now, I saw this technique from the amazing Dawn from W+9. She's a true artist, and she's really fabulous, and she has some images that are very similar to this. So I thought, as I was looking through, that this stamp set might be fun to give the technique a try. I will link in my blog to her video as well, because it's very extensive and really beautifully done, and her work is unbelievable. So you will enjoy watching that. Mine is certainly a much simpler version, but it works great, and I'm using the Zig markers. She used Distress ink. I think both of them would probably work just fine. So as I finish this flower up, and again, I just kind of kept it loose and easy, and cleaning off my brush over there. All right, next up I'm going to start working on the leaves. And obviously the stamp image is built so that you could actually stamp both leaves at the same time, but because I wanted the placement to be a little bit different, I'm inking up one side and stamping those leaves, and then I'm going to ink up the other side and do the same thing. So with the leaves particularly, you can see how the image isn't particularly well stamped, but it just doesn't matter because really what I'm trying to do is put down the ink in the outline form and then just fill it in by adding the water to the ink. This is again the olive green Zig marker. The joy of this is every time you stamp it, it's going to be just a little bit different. Every time you color it, it's going to be a little bit different. And that's one of those things you have to adapt to with watercolor. You have to accept that it's going to be imprecise, and that is part of the beauty of the project. I'm going to take my stamp cleaner and clean this off and then come back and do the other leaves. I got it cleaned off and I realized it wasn't completely clean, so I came back. Obviously, with you working one side and the other, you do want to make sure that that stamp is very, very clean before you move to the other side so you don't leave any strays. So I did stamp it off on a scratch sheet off to the side, made kind of a mess of it. Sorry about that. And coming back to ink up the other side now. And you can see it's starting to really take form for the watercolor look. I love these little blue flowers. They're so delicate looking and really pretty. And then my last leaf. All I have left for you is the center, excuse me, and the little dot that comes with the stamp set is actually intended for a much bigger flower, but that didn't mean I couldn't use it. So now I'm just pulling out the yellow Zig pen, and I'm only going to ink up part of it. You probably could go direct marker to the center, but I wanted the textures to be the same as if I had been stamping it, so I just inked up a little bit of that dot and stamped it down on the two centers, and then came back with my water pen just like I did with the others, just to keep it uniform. I'm sure you could totally experiment with this and have some fun with it if you just want to go direct marker to your paper. And it really is that simple. This little flower set is so pretty, looks hand painted, makes you feel like a real artist, which is fun, even though not all of us are. To finish my card, I went ahead and cut out the image with this stitch circle from Little Inkers Designs and added the sentiment and then followed the sketch with the sequins and the thread behind it. I'm very glad you joined me today. I appreciate you stopping by. I hope to see you again soon at Stampin' on the Fly. Have a great day.